Welcome to Life Coaches Unfiltered, where Desiree, Doree, and Michelle, three life coaches, are here to answer the questions you have, but we're afraid to ask. No fluff, no filters, just real talk to help you navigate life's big challenges. Let's dive in.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Life Coaches Unfiltered. Can you relate to this? Do you get the Sunday scaries? Like you're like, oh, I gotta go back to that job tomorrow, and I don't really want to go. Or you know that you're in a soul-sucking job, but you just feel stuck. We're talking about career transitions today. There could be a way out for you. So we're going to talk about what it looks like, how to set yourself up for success. We might share some personal stories about our own career shifts and maybe inspire you to embark on a new career transition. But before we jump into our topic for today, just want to do a brief little check-in. How y'all doing this morning?
The week was very short.
I just have to say that I started my day off with a 2-egg breakfast. They were robin eggs, but they were delicious. You know, I like Easter candy, y'all. It's my kryptonite.
Oh,
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 I was
I mean,
like,
I like
oh.
went and
I was
harvested some
like robin
robin.
I
eggs. I was like, what?
why
No,
why
it's
is
just
it
little
that I can
malted
eat like
milk.
chicken eggs, but when you said robin eggs, I thought murderer.
The joke did not land this morning. Man, we might need some coffee.
Okay, robin eggs are chocolate. Okay, I've never heard of them.
I had never heard of a chocolate orange until this year either.
Well, there we go.
I know. You got to
I'm
try it.
sure
They're
they're
little
better than
malted.
your robin eggs, right?
Anyway, God, I was so proud of my little joke. Totally bombed. Anyway, I slept a lot this weekend, which is not a bad thing.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Recharge those batteries.
yeah. How was your weekend, Michelle?
You know what? Why do I always forget what happened at the weekend? No, I actually was down at the Beltline on Saturday, which was pretty cool because I don't normally go downtown just because I have everything up here, and that was pretty cool. But it's very busy on the Beltline. But everyone was out because obviously the weather's nice. And I had brunch with my one of my besties. So yeah, it was just nice to just be out and in the fresh air and walking and yeah, and then I went retail shopping yesterday. So yeah.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Bit of retail therapy.
That's nice. I went to a little kid's birthday party yesterday. That was interesting. There was like, so picture this. It was a really cool party. The mom knew it. She was like did an incredible job. Had like, oh, this actually parlays very well into what we're talking about today because I tried to convince her to do this full time. She had like the whole like they had a movie. The kids had popcorn, hot dogs, pizza, like candy. Like they had a concession stand set up. Like she did like the full night, like everything, like a red carpet, all of this stuff for these kids. However, 8-year-olds having full access to like a full candy bar and cake and all of those things. It was like at one point it was like anarchy. It was like like kids running around like popping balloons and stuff like that. I was like, I need a break. So I went out on the front porch like of this place and sat down and they all started coming outside. I'm like, why are you following me? What's going on? But the mother did an incredible job. It was really nicely done. So anyway, I was like, have you thought about doing this full time? So,
Mm.
Yeah.
mhm.
So that's a great lead in for our career transition. So let's talk about why people consider a career change. Maybe they have like a really nice little side gig or discover a passion. What else do you guys see? Like I touched on the miserable job.
I
Like they feel
think
like their soul.
also your values and purpose can also change, I think.
Mm.
Um, depending on what industry you're in and everything like that. And so if it doesn't going to work shouldn't feel like a job. Like you should enjoy it and it should just be kind of like a hobby. But sometimes, as you said, you get the scaries and you don't want to and you want don't want to wake up. And sometimes I think it's also the people who are managing you that are making you feel that way. Also depending, as I said, the job may not fit you anymore. And you may have outgrown the job to the point of you're bored and you need something else. And there's no room for growth. And so, it's time to just hop on out. Or you may just want to quit your job and just travel the world. I mean, and be a nomad or be a digital nomad, work and travel around the world. Who knows?
I think you're right. I think the whole like people change. And I think that as you change your perspective on like what you want out of your life changes. I
Hmm.
never thought this would happen like to me, but like in my third 20s and 30s and part of my 40s, I was like a workhorse. Like that was it, and that's how I defined myself and just, and I think that people do that. And I think at some point you also just start going, is there more to life than this?
Hmm.
And starting to figure out that, maybe things don't, tick for you the way that they used to, and you want to, you just don't feel satisfied to the point you feel unhappy and miserable, and all of those other like icky feelings start to come in, and you find you're forcing yourself to do this 9 to 5 week. And some of my friends, we call it the job. It's the job. And for me, like the hypnotherapy coaching stuff is not a job. It's a passion and a purpose. It's not a job. And so, yeah, are you going to your job every day?
What you describe in your early career sounds a lot like burnout, which was our last episode. There's a method to our madness, y'all.
No work-life balance.
Yes.
Doesn't sound
We
like
talked
it
about burnout
either.
and work-life balance the last couple episodes. Um, I think work-life balance was the last episode and burnout was right before that. But yeah, so if this is ringing true for you, you might want to go download those episodes and listen to them as well, because
Hmm.
that might be relative, like relevant. Relevant is the word I was looking for to what you're feeling. Yeah, definitely burnout. Love the values point, Michelle.
Hmm.
Um, and outgrowing a job that you're like kind of bored with. And I think a career shift is more than just getting another job. It's moving in a completely different direction. So it's not just like escaping a bad boss. It's like, I don't want to work in this industry or this, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something completely different.
Hmm.
So it's different from like, I just need to get out of this horrible place to work. So have you guys, I mean, let's talk about some career shifts that you've seen or experienced in your life. Like I went from a tech career to something very non-techy, 20 years in technology. And I was like, this isn't, just wasn't filling me up anymore. And I was like, this is kind of not, it's not fun. I'm seeing some patterns that I don't like. So I went in a completely different direction. I would not suggest doing it cold turkey. So do you have in a pandemic? Would not suggest doing
I would agree with that one.
that. Yeah. I might have been a little delulu in that. But do y'all want to? I mean, Michelle, you not to spring this on you, but we know you were an educator at one point in your life.
Yes,
Did
but
you
I
plan
still
that or did
am.
you just jump out the plane like I did?
I think I jumped out. I did. I jumped out the plane. But it's funny because, you know, I've been talking about, just careers in general with people, and I was just like, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I had no clue, and it was someone who said, you like physical education, and I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, why don't you become a PE teacher? I was like, okay. So then I went to college to become a PE teacher, but again, I'd gotten to the point where I just had enough. I really just I'd had enough of um bad management, writing report cards. I'm so sorry. I love kids, but writing like over 150 report cards for all these little ones. I say little ones. I taught middle school and high school. And it's not a copy and paste. It was all individualized. So, that takes a lot of time and I just got tired of I just got tired of the administration stuff. The teaching, I loved the teaching and everything like that, but I was done. And plus I was a manager, so I was done managing people. I just
Mm.
got to the point of okay, and I was just kind of just done because there was a whole situation, and I won't go into it because it's quite personal, even though I've been very personal on the podcast already. But just know that there was someone in my team who didn't like me and was very blatant about trying to get me fired. Let's put it that way. Because of A, I'm black, and B, I'm a woman. So, that wasn't very pleasant. So having to deal with that kind of stuff was not cool. Um, but again, I would say I haven't left teaching, so to speak. It's just in a different way. I'm not in a classroom. I'm not having to deal with boring meetings. I can choose who I want to coach and help in the world. And there you don't have a choice. You're just given a class and then you got to teach these kids. So I haven't left it, but I've left the institution of going into a building.
That's that's a good point. But I want to let's talk we'll talk about like transitional skills or skills how they transfer across your from your old
Mhm,
career to your new career. But
mhm.
Doree, do you have anything to add about like career transitions that you've seen or experienced?
I'm a little bit, well, I'm like you, Desiree. I spent over 25 years in the software industry. And for myself, I thought something I was broken, something was wrong with me because I had it all. And I was making great money and had it all, but I was just there were little things happening, little triggers and things like that that were happening, and it was not a good scene. I like for you guys, you jumped out of the plane. I tried to jump out of the plane and my parachute got caught on the door. So I'm kind of like
At
I'm
least it
still
got
being
caught on the
dragged
door
behind
and
the
you didn't
plane.
jump out, right? You were like, let's back away from that door.
Or you were like running and then you're like, oh, I've been pulled back.
Oh, like, oh no, 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 no. But I mean, I guess that's part of the thing we can, at some point is like the support system that you have for like taking a leap like that. What kind of support system do you have? I didn't have a very good support system at the time when it came time to make a leap. So I never quite leapt, but I'm still doing the deal. So I guess I can be the poster child for what's it like when you're doing both. And still being able to pursue your purpose and dream while having a job.
Mm. What about you, Desi?
I feel like I'm still in the middle of it. It's taken a lot longer than I thought. I think that the thing that I mean, I just want to prepare people like some ways you feel like you're completely starting over, but you're not because you have these transitional skills like what Michelle said, like these like all of this tech stuff is it's great to have these skills going into having my own business, but like sales and marketing, I didn't, there's that's such a huge learning curve for me. And the fact that there's no like easy answer, like in when you're working in tech, usually I can't say that the answers are usually more cut and dry because that is not true. Um, but it was more familiar to me, and I felt like it was a logical problem and I could figure it out in most cases. Sales and marketing is, and even though I have all these coachy skills, it's still dang. Anyway, so um, one thing that when Dory was saying having a support system when you take the leap, like sometimes you have an unsupportive system by people in your life saying, you can't do that, you're too old, you'll
Hmm.
never, you know, you'll never be able to make it. So just be aware that like some people in your life may try to squash your dreams or say things inadvertently. I remember I had a friend who I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to go into coaching. And they were like, well, what's that? And I kind of tell them and they were like, somebody's going to pay you for that? And I was like, wow, you just said that out loud. And so, and this is a person that I consider a very kind and loving friend. And I was like, it came as a little bit of a shock. So just be aware of your support people and
Hmm.
your not so support people. Um, and and really lean on yourself for being a support and surround yourself with people who believe in you.
It's so important, and I think especially it depends on what you're planning on leaping into as well. You know, people don't understand. Um, you know, sometimes if you're going into something that's new and they don't understand it, their own fears can kind of try to trickle down into yours. I know for myself, like when I came home one day and said, "Hey, I want to be a coach. I'm gonna be a coach. I'm gonna go be a hypnotherapist." And I was like, "Oh, you're gonna leave your full pay, like your job to do this?" And their fears about money and stuff like that came into play and that sort of thing. And so it became sort of not really a naysayer per se, but just there was no like, you can do it. You can do it. It was, pulling myself up every day going, you can still do this. You can do this. And all the obstacles that come along the way, being able to like pull myself over. And then having great friends, meeting you guys. I mean, it's really nice when you meet people that are all in the same boat and you can just kind of lift each other. I know for myself, Desiree, I've called you multiple times and went, like, what am I doing here? What am I, and you're like, eh, just talking to you for just a few minutes kind of right-sized me and like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, this is why I'm doing this. So, yeah, having a support system when you're looking at transitioning your career, whatever that is, having people that can be there to give you advice or just to hear you out is so important.
I would agree. Don't need any naysayers. Because it's what you if you want to go and do it, why not go and do it? What's the worst thing that could happen? Oh, okay, it doesn't work out. You could try something else. I mean, seriously, we only got one life, and if people are miserable, you can make stuff happen, but you have to obviously have guts and just say, I'm just going to bite the bullet. Just like you, Desiree said, you just jumped off, no parachute. I had no hardly any savings, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I
Yeah.
just got married. I was just like, I'm out. And my husband's like, all right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we did. It was very stressful, but I figured it out. But that weight off my shoulder of the Monday scaries of having to get up, going to work, not wanting to drive to the school. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first job. I was a consultant in tech, which was you just work your whole life is work. And I was traveling, and I remember somebody and on a project, I was having a conversation with them, and they said, I work like I don't live in order to work. I work in order so I can live. And
Hmm.
so this job is not my entire
Yeah.
being and focus. And I think, there's a huge culture shift in our country versus Europe. Europe has a much better work-life balance and they have they there's an understanding that like if you have family stuff or that families come come before work there and so it can be a little hard in the United States culture to be like, no, I'm not going to do this, this isn't serving me. It can kind of go against the grain and sometimes that can feel especially tough. It's just my
Mhm.
perspective. I've never lived in Europe.
Well, trust me, yes. We shut off. It's not the I was laughing about this the other day, and I said this in a networking meeting. If I'm on vacation, if I'm taking personal time off, I don't want anyone to call me. I don't want anyone to call me. Don't ask me about this meeting or this project or whatever. I am on vacation. And that is very in Europe, that is a kind of like a no-go. Unless it's like, you're the owner of the company or something along those lines, or you're, higher up or whatever, but don't call me and I'm not going to look at my emails. And, the American culture is like, I've just come out of surgery. I'll look at your email when I come out of surgery. Once the anesthesia's died down, I'll take a look and I'll respond to your email. No, no, I need this time off. And, don't get me started about maternity leave or anything like that, because that to me is horrific that some companies want women to go back to work after dropping a baby after like 6, 8 weeks. I think that's absolutely disgusting, but that's my opinion. Because in Europe, they have 6 months, minimum 6 months, and up to a year. So there we go. But yeah.
Definitely, it's definitely different here, and I think that I, so many, we have another episode too, where we talk about, the badge of courage or badge of courage. That's a book. It's a good book. Anyway, but there, you wear it as a badge, you wear it as, and I think that we do here do that. And I think we even stay in careers longer because of that. And there was this mindset, like I know, like for my parents' generation, of where you had tenure and you stayed and you had but you also had all these benefits. You had what was it called?
Pensions.
Oh, I'm sorry, would you
Pensions.
say
When you had a pension.
pension?
Hmm.
Yeah, you had pension, you had all these things, and so you stayed with these companies, and but you felt a loyalty and like this, like that this was, and my parents, my dad retired from Kimberly Clark, and he was there for 30 something plus years. My mom, Milliken. And so they stayed with them all of this time, but they also had just this feeling of loyalty that I feel like the companies were loyal to them too. You don't find that much anymore. And I think a lot of people have seen this recently about being laid off. It's kind of like, wait a minute, I was with you for 20 years and you just like things that's going gets tough, you get me going. And you've let me go. And so they feel like it's this, I don't know. I guess you don't feel like the love from the companies I think that our parents' generation did. And so, but we've carried that same mindset and that same value and belief, not value, belief system with us that our parents had, that it doesn't matter how miserable you are,
You just keep
you put
getting
your
up.
face on and you get in the game and you still do it. And whether that's relationships, jobs, whatever it is, you stick, you made, what's the saying, you made your bed, now lie in it. That's kind of what I feel like a lot of people do with their careers too. So when you made a choice, you've invested all this time and all this stuff in here, you made this choice, just stick it out until you die. Or until it's time to retire. Or Michelle, you probably hear this sometimes too, working with people that you work with too. Is like, when I retire, I will travel. I will do all these when I retire. And so people stay in these jobs and they continue doing the things that's soul sucking for them, because there's like this little dangle of a carrot of retire if you can retire. Some people won't be able to retire. So, it's a sad situation.
And it's stressful. Like
Mhm.
the soul suckingness is there because it's telling you, like it's giving you a message.
Mhm.
And to go against that is stressful on your mental, emotional, and then it becomes physical too.
Hmm.
I would say that is when you hear the knock on the door, That's the universe giving you a little knock, little hey, hey, until it starts like nudging you and pushing you. And finally it just opens a window and pushes you out of it. It just says, we've been nudging you. We've been trying to tell you that this is not where, you're supposed to be and something happens. But I found that people that get laid off, and I listen, I can't even imagine what that's like. I'm sure that's probably traumatic and scary and all those things. But I have people that this happens to realize at some point that the company did for them what they couldn't do for themselves and end up finding something that's so much better and so much more uplifting. And it turns out being, for the most part, something that's very, very positive at the end of it, but I can't imagine how hard that is going through it.
So let's talk about what can spark a career transition. Being laid off, sometimes you're shown the door and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. That was kind of my case um, during COVID. And I was
Mm.
like, I knew it took me a minute to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I realized that I had had this idea for years before. And so for me, that felt like the natural. I was like, okay, we haven't had this idea, like this isn't a new idea. We just buried it so that we could be in survival mode for a while. Um, but what other things could shift? Like Michelle, you were just sick of it. You were like, I'm burned out. So that sounded kind of like burnout.
Was, yeah.
I've seen like major kind of upheavals in someone's life. Like they go through a divorce or they have a
Mhm.
major loss in their life.
Yeah,
That can kind of be the catalyst for a career transition.
yeah,
I think midlife itself sometimes can be just where you're halfway through and you go, wait a minute. I think that was for me was sort of my own little midlife thing was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I was angry all the time. I was very emotional and just kind of, there was something inside of me that was just agitated, really agitated all the time. And that was, it was just kind of do I want to, I think for me it was, do I want to spend the rest of my like years, doing this? This is, there's got to be something more to life than this. And being able to look at it. And for me too, part of that transition, career transition, was also being able to look at my job as something different and kind of spinning it and going that I am not my job. That is not who I am. I am so much more than this. But for many, my entire career, I worked since I was 15 years old. And I was always the worker and the person who had the good job and all of those things. So it became who part of my identity. And so I think that maybe the midlife thing made me question my identity and made me question so many things that I had to kind of look at everything differently. And it sort of created this, well, maybe I should be doing something different.
I think, it's a good point that you made about people's identity because I think when people have been laid off, it is part of their identity, that they have been part of this in this role for however many years with this company, and that's who they are. And it is because I've been laid off twice. Um, and the first one that really shocked me because I was just like, what? Why am I getting laid off? Like, you just kind of gave me a nice bonus and, my end of year performance was good. And, my surveys from my classes that I taught were good because I went into corporate, everyone, just so you know. I just want to give some people some backstory. And it was just kind of like, but why me? And I was enjoying my job because again, I'd kind of gone back into teaching, but I was now doing it for corporate and I was doing it virtually. So I was working from home. that that was again, I was just like, well, who am I? What am I? What am I gonna do? So it's really kind of freaky when that happens, when you get laid off, because it's part of your identity, but then it's kind of like, but then I also had businesses as well. So it was, I didn't, I wasn't, that wasn't solely kind of like what I was, focusing my time on. So I had other things to kind of occupy me. But again, it was like, wow, I got laid off from this corporation and they just basically said, thank you very much and goodbye,
Mm.
you know, and that was it. That was it. And so so I think it's very important for people to think about you are, what's the word I'm looking for? And it's going to sound very morbid. If you drop down dead today, they're going to replace you. A company is going to replace you. And if they lay you off, again, they may replace you, they may not. You are disposable when it comes to in your careers. I'm just going to say we're disposable, even though sometimes we think that we're not. And as you said, Doree, back in the day, parents would work for companies for many years, and that was how it was. And that showed loyalty and everything. But right now, we're all disposable. Whatever career that we're doing, we're all disposable. And we're all replaceable. And it's horrible to say that, but it's kind of the reality with all the people, with all the layoffs that have happened over the past couple of years and they're still happening, we are disposable. So I would say get a side hustle.
So yeah, that's a great segue into like if people are like, I think I need to switch, but where do I start? So side hustles and passions are a
Hmm.
good kind of starter place. And then
Yeah.
I think there's another opportunity to fold in looking at your skills from your previous career
Yeah.
and where those might align. Like Michelle, how have your you've talked a little bit about like you started to kind of plant the seed on how your skills from your teaching career help you in today's work.
Yeah, I mean, ugh, so many. I mean, I'm still working with teens and emerging adults. So, you know, I taught middle school, high school, and I also worked in a community college. So I've worked with adults. Um, so there's that kind of transfer of how to talk to a teen and how to talk to an emerging adult and how to talk to an adult. And then also, when I lead workshops and stuff like that, I don't like to make things boring. I'm just, from the skills and from doing lots of workshops and everything like that. So I try and make sure people are engaged. Um, and those are the type of things that I did when I was teaching. Um, I've learned some coaching techniques now, which has been good. Um, but again, as a teacher, you got to manage your time. You've also got to manage your classroom. So with behaviors, and then you've got to, again, write report cards. So, even though you don't think I do, I will kind of write things up and I'll have to do research as well for some of my clients as well. So it's not just me just sitting there listening. I'm actually doing research and I'm also reaching out to my resources as well, which is another thing that I think is good because we all network and that's a skill that we've kind of inherited because as a teacher, who am I networking with? No one. And so even those skills of networking skills, I am also passing that off to my emerging adults and my teens because not that I'm going to go into a big story, but teens, COVID, sat behind a computer screen, that's their jam. They don't like the face to face. They don't like to talk to people. And so that again, my learning those skills are helping my clients, emerging adults, teens to understand it's good to have a conversation with someone and to talk to someone face to face instead of behind this damn device. Um, and how you're going to do that and obviously gaining some emotional intelligence and reading the room and just having a conversation with an adult. It's scary for them. And networking is scary as well. But now that I've kind of gotten used to it, again, like, it's one of those skills that I've brought to my clients. But yeah, it's also funny that and I'll talk from the education point of view. If any educators are listening and they're looking to transition out of teaching, you have so many skills that can be transferred to the corporate world, and you just have to make sure, with you when you write your resume, that it translate into corporate language and not teacher language, because there's a difference. Because when I left the education world and I was sending out my resumes, it was very educational driven, and corporate America does not understand that. And they don't realize that the skills that we have as a teacher, and the organization, we've got to be organized. We can't be, there's definitely got to be organization when it comes to having kids, and the management, and also project management, because you're managing all these kids and you're trying to get them to a certain place, and they transfer over to the corporate world, but you just have to use the corporate language. So, if you're thinking of transitioning, get someone to help you to make it sound like corporate language. Chat GPT, Claude, whatever can help you, and then get someone to go over it. Or if you've got someone who's in the corporate world, get them to look at your resume. Um, but there are so many skills that can be transferred from education to the corporate world.
I love that. Yeah, I think that that's one of the things people don't realize is that your skill sets do transfer into so many different things. I think that one of the things that people can sometimes do is be short-sighted and look for, especially if they're looking for a new job, just even a new job, they're looking for the same like title, job
Mhm.
title. And
Mhm.
I, just for fun, sometimes when I'm ready to look for another job, I'll go and look for the job, like stuff that they do and go, number one, do I find that fascinating? That's interesting. I've applied for marketing positions before, and you guys, I'm program software management. That's kind of my thing. But, I can find the skill sets in there of like, well, I know how to do that. I can do that. I can do that. And being able to parlay that stuff into what it is you want to do. Another thing, suggestion is take some classes. If you're interested in something else, take some classes and see if it's something that, really does interest you. And one other thing to look at as well is sometimes it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing as well. Can you look at, for myself, while I'm still in this phase of, my career and all the things I'm doing, is looking at it as, it's a sort revenue. It's a way to generate revenue and looking at it that way. So it's a mindset shift. It's being able to just look at different things. And a lot of people that come to me as hire me as a coach that's looking for some sort of like transition like this. It's being able to just look at like what are your options and what is it that you want to do? What lights you up? What fires you up? And sometimes
Yep.
as much as you want that to be your like full-time like thing, it may not be. But can you parlay it and put it in your life and weave it in there where you're getting so much satisfaction out of it that other stuff doesn't matter? Or, it's a way of looking at it and balancing it and figuring it all out. And, I know that it's hard to do sometimes and hard to accept that you can't do something full time. But can you put enough of it into your life where it's like, you know what, this just it gives me so much joy that it like, it balances everything out. It's, you know,
So taking tiny steps in that direction of I know I want to do something different. It's a little bit more gradual. It's like those zero entry pools where it's kind of sloped. It's a sloped entry into your new career transition instead of going off the diving board, the 10-foot diving board and jumping in. Um,
I
there are
mean, if you're a
ways that
risk taker, I mean, why not?
if you have it set up in a way and it's not going to like drive you bananas and make you like where you are like stressed out so much that it's like absolutely. I mean, and you're right, Michelle. If you're a risk taker and that's your personality and that sort of thing, If you're someone that needs to slow pace it. You got to do what's right for you and what feels, natural, and be and you're going to be okay with it. That's the thing. Are you going to be okay with it?
Yeah.
And we
I
haven't
mean, it's
even,
scary. It's scary regardless.
it is. And we talked a little bit about identity, but like your identity is wrapped up in what you do. And so when you change that very
Mhm.
suddenly, it can be jarring.
Hmm.
And
Definitely.
to for others too. Like, for myself to be seen now as a life coach, hypnotherapist type of thing, it took you guys, my friends and family, it took Facebook, a very social media, I should say, a very long time for people to see me and as an expert in this field versus my software field. In the software field, it's but to for people now to see me and a really quick story. A really big like meter for me or measurement for me was when my stepdad, who, he knew me as software and he actually asked me for tips on how to overcome going into an MRI machine. You guys, that was huge, 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 huge for me. And then when I talked to them right after when they were leaving, he was so excited. He was like, Doree, I didn't even have to take a Xanax. I did exactly what you said, and I didn't have to take a Xanax. That was a huge deal, you guys. Um, but it took for me, for this particular person whom I adore, but he's very stuck in he was stuck in like this is who Dory is and this is what she does, but to see me that way. So I think that that's the other thing too, is have patience with yourself, have patience with others around you as well. Sometimes it takes a while for that to click over, and but it does happen.
Yeah, it does. Because when I left teaching, it was like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like, where do I go? And then I did the travel. We opened up a travel business, and then I did some direct sales, and then I was still like, no, this is not me. This is where am I going? And then I was thinking project management, and then I was just like, do I want to study for that? And because you get to a point where you're just like, I don't want to study anymore. I don't need to go to college and spend like thousands of dollars. You're looking at the ROI, you know, because does it make sense to go here and do this or la la la, So I was just kind of scrambling of like, what can I do next? And I don't want to be a teacher. And that was in my head. I don't want to be teaching. I don't want to be teaching. I don't want to be, and I constantly. And I just had to kind of let it go because I was just like, no, Michelle, this is kind of like your calling. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a classroom, but it became something else. And then I kind of just fell into the life coaching piece. And now I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it. No, no, no. And we also still have the travel bit. I still also have the travel business. Me and my husband own it, but those are two passions that I love. And yeah.
I think it's time for our uncomfortable question, Michelle.
Oh, are you ready?
Yes.
If I told you that your current career chapter is over, what's the first thing that comes to mind as the next one?
Mm. I feel like I'm still in the middle of my chapter. I don't have an answer for that. I guess I would figure it out. I don't know. Certainly not teaching. No offense.
No, none taken. None taken.
I think for myself, like, because I'm still straddling both, I'm still doing so, yeah. But if you came to me and said both are over, that this is both, I, yeah, I think for me, I would call you Michelle and say, can you hire me as a travel agent? And and do something where I could actually still travel to me right now, that's kind of where my head is at right now. Is I want to see the world. I want to be adventurous and do so many things. So yeah, I'd be like, Michelle, hey,
Yeah.
maybe we
Well,
should talk anyway, Michelle.
We'd have to close the business because again, it's the next chapter. But you know what? I'm going to be a flight attendant.
Really? I mean, the funny thing is when you were like, well, if you're chap, because I had the same thing as like, I would just sell everything and just be like, well, the hell with it. I'm going to travel. So it's hilarious that we're all like, just travel.
Maybe we need to just travel together. Let's just
Yes.
sell everything and go. But
Yeah.
we got Minnie and
I
Nyla,
know.
Michelle. You have your husband, so we'll ask him like we'll just borrow you.
Borrow. Yeah. He'll probably want to come because he'll be like,
That
where
that
y'all
works too.
going?
That
Yeah.
works too.
But
Yeah.
yeah, flight attendant, I think.
I like that. I do. I like that. I don't think there's an age limit anymore on being a flight attendant. I think they
I
kind of
don't think
dropped the
so, but
weight
then
and all that stuff.
because I've got my nose pierced and it's a big one, I think that would be the only reason why they wouldn't hire me because I've got
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of my nose ring. I'm sorry, y'all. I've waited way too long to get this thing. It's not coming out.
right.
I just realized that I'm the only one on this show that does not have a nose ring.
Sounds like we got a field trip.
No, I have enough holes. My ears being pierced, so it's
We'll
not.
drug you. We'll drug you. We'll do
Now
I got
Michelle's
tricked
is on
into
one
going to
different
it.
side than mine, so we got to figure out like which side maybe we'll put yours in the middle.
No, no,
Or we'll just do
Yeah, you
both
can
of
get
us.
the little
Yes.
like yeah.
I don't like this conversation. Oh,
Took a turn all of a
oh.
sudden.
I got tricked into going to a tattoo parlor and on spring break in college. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, no. Anyway, I did not end up with a tattoo, but I was like, this is a waste of my time. Anyway,
That's so
whatever.
funny.
Story for another day. Quotes. Who's got quotes?
All right,
I
I'll go.
I'll go. No,
Go,
okay.
you
go,
go.
go.
Oh
Go.
my
No,
God.
you go.
Okay.
Everybody get one.
Opportunities don't happen. You create them. And that's by Chris Grosser. And I like that
Mm,
because they don't just happen. You do have to create them.
I love that.
Hmm.
And here's one. If it scares you, it might be a good thing to try. Sith, got it?
Oh, I like if it scares you, it might be a good thing to try. That's just
Was that hitting home here, Desiree, or
uh,
something? Because you're
ah,
like giggling.
everything scares me. It is especially the story about getting a nose ring. It is never too late to be what you might have been, George Eliot. I love that. It's never too late. So don't sit there and think. Like, I think Vera Wang got into designing in her 40s. Like, there's so
Yeah.
many stories
Hmm.
of famous celebrities that didn't come into what they were known for until they were in midlife or later. So don't sit there and say, I'm too old. Meh, 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 meh. We don't want to hear it. Anyway,
That's
Dory,
so
you want to talk
funny.
about what we're talking about next?
Yes, I love the visualization of this. I love the dumpster fire. So dumpster fire relationships. I mean, who hasn't had a relationship that's been just a dumpster fire? I love it. We're going to set fire to it next on our next time, and we're going to talk about some of our relationships. We're going to pour gasoline and we're lighting a match. So I'm looking forward to the next one. You can tell I'm fired up about it because I have had so many dumpster fire relationships.
Dory's bringing it with the puns today.
I know, right?
Dory is fired up about our dumpster fire relationships. Huh. Anyway, so if you have a question for us, maybe to even address on the dumpster fire relationship episode, we would love to hear from you. There's a form in the show notes beneath this episode. Go ahead and fill that out. It sends us a little message, and we'd be happy to hear from y'all. And until next time, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Life Coaches Unfiltered. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us on social media. Got a question you've been afraid to ask? Send it our way at lifecoachesunfiltered@gmail.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep questioning, and stay unfiltered.